Welcome back, Hodlers. Today we're going to be talking about last week in crypto. First big news that happened last week in crypto. We all know the Bitcoin chart soared throughout the week. We recovered from our darkest of dark to our highest of high. Now, a couple of things happened during that week, being news with Amazon FUD and a couple of other things. We're going to talk about some of the news that's happening right now and also kind of reiterating on some of the news that happened through the week. Let's go ahead and get into it. So the first bit of news is PayPal. So we've discussed PayPal before. The CEO was found talking about how big of a deal Bitcoin's going to be, how big of a deal cryptocurrencies are going to be. So they're obviously ramping things up and they're assembling a crypto team in Ireland as Bitcoin adoption grows. But we have this narrative of Bitcoin being adopted more and more in more variety stores. We're seeing ATMs for Bitcoin. More banks are going to be able to service Bitcoin. So this is going to be a growing trend as time goes on. So obviously PayPal is the global payments provider for digital money, essentially for USD, whatever other currencies. And it's basically one of the largest platforms available internationally. Now, of course, they only have their crypto services for the United States and coming out to the UK next. But obviously, you can see that there's pushes to make this an international program within PayPal. And the one big thing about financial adoption is having the adoption from services like PayPal, Bank of America, and other financial services that are currently in the legacy system. That's going to be the push that we need to really start adopting a lot of digital currencies and crypto assets. One other big piece of news is Saudi Aramco, the world's third largest company, probably one of the biggest oil companies in the world, easily, if not the biggest. But they have basically control over almost the entirety of oil in the desert of Saudi Arabia. Now, if you remember back at the start of COVID, there was this big pissing match with Russia and Saudi Arabia, and gas prices were super cheap. It wasn't because of any other narrative. It was strictly because Russia and the Saudi Arabian government had a disagreement and basically suffocated the oil market in excess oil. But they clearly have enough oil that is flared out. So typically when oil is refined into gasoline and pulled out from the ground, usually there are these flare things, which essentially just burns oil. So what better use than just burning oil into the atmosphere than making Bitcoin? This is also a thing that I highly recommend for things like the Alberta oil sands. I believe they're already doing things like this, but this just goes to show that more players in the game are going to be making steps like this to make use of their excess oil that's being burnt. Is this maybe not globally efficient? Well, we're burning the oil already, so we might as well be mining Bitcoin with it. So we're still dependent on fossil fuels. That's a reality, and this is what's going to happen. But this is a huge company that's probably going to put in a massive amount of money. So I can see a huge amount of Bitcoin being generated by Saudi Arabian companies, especially Aramco, whatever the company is. So it's a big piece of how much Bitcoin is going to be mined through one of the biggest oil providers in the world. Bitcoin is setting up for a Q4 super cycle. Now, a lot of people have basically said that, hey, Bitcoin is going to top out at the end of Q4. And I agree with you. It's hard to deny that that is a real possibility. We made up a lot of ground and we very well could do something like that. But I'm a little skeptical still, and I air caution with everyone. That being said, I still have cash out plans. So this article discusses that the liquidity or the illiquidity of Bitcoin is causing the price to skyrocket, and it should go into a huge demand coming into this area. But I do believe that at this point, we could still see an extended cycle throughout 2022 and 2023. And now, the thing is, this pesky stock to flow ratio and the halvening rate. Every 4 years for the start of Bitcoin's life, we've seen the halvening basically drive the market. It dictated everything. How do we know that this is going to be the future? How do we know that the halvening is always going to drive the market? What happens after 2100 when all the Bitcoin is mined? There's no halvening to drive the market anymore. So will the market be driven by a halvening? At that point, it could be just driven by the economics of what's happening, the market and everything else, which I think is what's going to happen here. So we could most likely see this market cycle go longer than we've seen previous market cycles go and have a less or a diminishing returns over time. And that's probably how we're going to see future market cycles in the future. But that's my 2 cents on Bitcoin. Please, I'm no financial advisor. I just do do this for fun. Basically, I research charts and Bitcoin happening. I know I'm a nerd, but at the end of the day, you have to make your own decisions, and whether that is to sell or buy, that's got to be completely up to you. Cardano is going through a lot of moves. We've been talking all about Cardano this week because smart contracts are right around the corner, and the countdown has begun to Alonzo HFC. This is the event when Alonzo is fully live and we can actually start making dApps on the Cardano system. Charles Hoskinson did say that once the system is live, at that point we can just execute transactions under the new code. And the teams have been working really hard to get this all sorted. Plus, Cardano's been working through and making sure that they have browser and wallet applications for the Cardano wallets. So big news happening for Cardano. I expect that this is going to definitely generate some price fluctuation in the near term. But again, news is usually baked in. So I wouldn't be making a bet on Cardano based on Alonzo, just like EIP 1559 for Ethereum. Bitcoin is currently sitting at 40,573, tanking a little bit at this point. But again, not to be concerned because after green candles like this, there's going to be bound to be a retracement, and we need a little bit of time to recoup and recover if we're going to make it above 42,000 and above the 20-week SMA. Cardano is currently sitting at $1.33, which is huge in terms of where Cardano is. Seems like Bitcoin's dipping a little bit, but Cardano is still holding strong. Same with Ethereum. Ethereum is sitting at $2,600. All green candles for Ethereum, all gas, no brakes, nobody stopping in the Ethereum train. I do obviously have Ethereum being staked. I don't have any Ethereum essentially liquid. Most of my Ethereum has been moved over to PolkaSwap or other areas into other coins, but my Ethereum that's staked just is untouched. That's what I'm holding. But that's it for last week in crypto. Obviously, a lot's happened, and we had some pretty bullish green days. I would air caution because a lot of people are expecting that the bull market will end in September. My bets are that it's not going to end in September, that we're actually going to get an extended cycle into 2022 and possibly even 2023. That's it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and give me a like or subscribe to the channel. It really helps out. And of course, and as always, happy hodling.